Continuing on our minerals discussion, we're going to shift gears into the trace minerals. So in this video, we get to look at iron, copper, zinc, and selenium. Iron, do you really need to be eating a physical metal? Well, yeah, just not gnawing on an iron bar. So let's figure out where you get it from and what all these are used for. We'll start off our trace minerals, so again, the ones that are needed in smaller amounts, with iron. Iron is probably the most well understood of all the trace minerals, because we know that iron is needed for hemoglobin, that's found in red blood cells, which carry oxygen. It's in myoglobin, which is helping oxygen transport in your muscles. Pretty much, if you don't have enough iron, you can't make enough hemoglobin, and therefore you can't transport enough oxygen. So kind of an important thing there. But also, iron is used as a cofactor for hundreds of other enzymes. What you might start thinking about is a lot of these irons and these different cofactors are all used in the liver. They're used as detoxification purposes. You'll find other cofactors are being used for electron transport. So the electron transport chain, think ATP production. So looking at how do you produce your energy? Well, iron's also needed in DNA synthesis. So just a little important there. But even with how important all this is, iron deficiency is a worldwide problem. Because the most common issue with iron deficiency is anemia. Now, anemia is a whole series of different disorders. But there's one particular type that is dealing with this, is when you're looking at iron deficiency anemia. That means iron is not enough, iron deficient. What that happens then is you cannot produce enough hemoglobin, and therefore you can't produce enough red blood cells. Without enough red blood cells, you can't carry enough oxygen in your blood. According to the World Health Organization, the deficiencies worldwide are estimated about 80% of all people are at least slightly deficient. Now, slightly deficient doesn't mean you'll have any symptoms. It just means your levels aren't quite where they should be. Well, where are you typically getting this from? You're typically getting all this iron from red meat. You're getting it from fortified foods. You're getting it from spinach, from eggs even. But what's interesting here is, looking at the sources of animal versus plant, animal sources are going to be a better source because of the bioavailability. What that basically means is, in animal sources of iron, 60% of the iron is found in hemoglobin. So it's heme iron. Your body can absorb that more efficiently than non-heme iron, which is the other 40% thing. In plant sources, it's 100% non-heme. So while you can still absorb it, it's not as bioavailable, which means it's not as easy to absorb in the non-heme form. So iron and hemoglobin from animal products is the easier way, but both can work. The problem is, in the case of a lot of times plants, you have those phytates, you have the oxalates, you have polyphenols. They're all going to end up inhibiting, so reducing the availability of iron. Now, there's more than just that. There's a whole series of inhibitors. Any of those can reduce the ability for your body to absorb the iron. But likewise, there's enhancers. The enhancers, like red meat, for example, fish, poultry, they're going to help because they have the heme group. They have that heme-based iron. Your body can more easily absorb, and therefore it's easier to bring it into your system. But pair that with vitamin C, and it makes it even more efficient, because vitamin C helps iron absorption. So if you're consuming heme-based iron, so animal products, in conjunction with vitamin C at the same time, that all helps to increase the bioavailability and make it easier for your body to absorb. But now, how much iron do you actually need? If you start with the RDA from infancy, 0.27 milligrams, so not much at all. Then you get up into adulthood, 8 or 18 milligrams. Again, it's that male-female split. By the time you hit age 50 and above, everyone is at 8 milligrams. And if you wonder, well, why was females 18? That has to do with the menstrual cycle. The loss of blood there loses iron in the body, which needs to be replaced. But there is an upper limit. 40 milligrams of iron is the upper limit. Reason being is your body is really good at holding on to that iron. You recycle it continuously in your blood. You really don't lose a lot, which means if you get too much, it's very difficult for your system to clear the iron out. It can also cause GI problems. A lot of times you have issues with constipation, more stool movements. So really, that upper limit is something to watch out for. You don't want too much iron, but you need to maintain an adequate amount. So iron, kind of important. Think hemoglobin, oxygen. Next trace mineral is going to be copper. Now, in the case of copper, it's going to assist in the electron transport chain. So think ATP synthesis. It's also healthy in the function of the brain. You're looking at as an enzymatic cofactor for iron absorption, which means for the iron, again, to be efficiently absorbed, we'll add in copper in the mix now, as well as an antioxidant. So copper itself helps iron, helps your brain, helps your overall nervous system, as well as helps in production of ATP, electron transport chain. So where do you get it from? Things like seeds, organ meat, fortified foods, and shellfish are where you can someplace you find it. RDA, how much do you need? 340 micrograms as an infant, heading up to about 900 micrograms as an adult. So it's in lower quantities than iron was. We're in micrograms in copper, not like the milligrams we were in iron. So even smaller amounts there. Next up is zinc. In the case of zinc, it's helping with nervous system conduction. So the sending of signals from neuron to neuron that helps to send information throughout your entire body. It's helping support your immune system. It's also a coenzyme for roughly about 200 enzymes that they've found so far. And of those cofactor coenzymes, you're looking at the direct role then helping with DNA and RNA and protein synthesis. So zinc plays kind of an important role of making your genetic material there. Now, then since you're making that, you're also helping control metabolism. Because metabolism is being controlled by how your body functions. So your energy metabolism is partly dependent on zinc, among other things, of course. But that means a zinc deficiency, in the case of children, could actually stunt their growth, could have a shorter stature. Because in this case, without enough energy metabolism, the body can't produce enough energy for growth. Now, they've also found that deficiencies in zinc are a lot of times linked to cultures that use a lot of grain product as their source of food. Because grains themselves are going to have the phytates. That means the phytates are going to limit absorption of zinc. Really, having red meat and seafood is a great way to get zinc into your diet. So when you start looking at different cultural bases here, it also can play a part. What their main staples are, as far as they have enough zinc or not enough zinc in their diets. In adults, if you have deficiency in zinc, a lot of times looking at hair loss, looking at skin problems, weight problems, even diarrhea. Anemia is a common side effect because zinc, remember, helps produce DNA, RNA, and proteins. If you can't produce enough, you can't make your red blood cells. Without enough red blood cells, that's anemia and oxygen deficiency. Because that heme factor, like hemoglobin, the heme portion is where zinc is helping produce. So without enough zinc, you can't make enough heme group. If you have enough heme group, you can't make hemoglobin. I already mentioned meats and seafood, But it's also in grains, but the catch there is it's limited amounts because the phytates reduce the bioavailability in the grains. So it's there, but not as easily absorbed. How much do you need? You're only looking at about 2 milligrams from infancy, up to about 11 or 8 milligrams in adulthood. So 11 males, 8 milligrams females. All right, iron, copper, zinc. Next up is selenium. Selenium is also a cofactor. If you notice, it's kind of a trend here, cofactors. But selenium is a cofactor of enzymes that help with the release of thyroid hormone. Now, thyroid hormone is important for metabolism. So you can notice that thyroid hormone, when it's produced, is helping with your metabolic processes and helping control pretty much every metabolic process in every cell in your body. The deficiencies of selenium a lot of times mirror image or mimic deficiencies of iodine. We'll get to iodine in the next video. But the reason they're similar is iodine also plays a role with your thyroid. So we'll get to that. Supporting your immune system, muscle growth, muscle health and healing for that matter. And the many different cofactors a lot of times play parts as antioxidants. So by having selenium help a cofactor as an antioxidant, that helps also relieve the stress on vitamin E. Because remember, vitamin E was dealing as an antioxidant. But the problem was vitamin E antioxidant gets used, you gotta recycle. So selenium now can help reduce how much vitamin E needs to be used as an antioxidant. Because selenium, one of the examples of an antioxidant is going to be glutathione peroxidase. That's going to help get rid of free radicals from lipids. So think cell membrane, phospholipids there. So it's helping to remove those free radicals in lipids from glutathione peroxidase. Now, since you're helping these lipids, they're looking and exploring a link between selenium levels and cardiovascular disease. Because by helping get rid of the free radicals and helping to be an antioxidant, they're saying that can actually help out cardiovascular disease and prevent you from basically forming it. But that's still active research. They haven't conclusively made anything there. Just it's a interesting link that might be helping out. So where do you get selenium from? Meats, seafood, and even broccoli. So you gotta make sure you eat your broccoli. The RDA comes in from infancy about 15 micrograms up to about 55 micrograms for adults. So selenium, again, small quantities, but can have huge impacts in your body. Until the next video.